What is the smallest bit of space possible? What is so-called atom of space and how it works? Here is an answer theory you never heard before. True nature of a smallest atom of space lies in the realm of quantum dramaturgy. Let's remind that dramaturgy is a story about a certain hero that has a way to the goal, viewed by a side viewer. I call it hero way goal capsule. And quantum means smallest detectable bits of those stories possible. Clearly, dramaturgy needed the minimum quant of distribution. And that led me to a thought about minimum possible dramaturgical space, atoms of space. Inspired by Dr. Stephen Wolfram's ideas in the computational physics field and his reference to atom of space, I decided to clarify its dramaturgical essence, because Dr. Wolfram isn't very specific about physical specification of hypothetical atom of space, except of being sort of a stable cell of reality that can be filled with different types of quantum fields at a different moment of time. And I have few new ideas about those dimensions of atoms of space and how they interact. An atom of space is a spatial arrangement of a particle that is the center of a hypothetical sphere with a specific radius, determined by the distance covered by a particle moving at the speed of light during the smallest unit of time possible, known as Planck's time. We can visualize the atom of space as a central core representing the particle itself, with its outer surface representing all the potential locations that the particle could occupy within the span of a single Planck's time. To simplify, we imagine a photon as a center of atom of space in 2 dimensions, but in reality it is a 3-dimensional sphere. The first circle on the left, with a particle in the center, represents all the possible spatial changes within the system. The radius of the sphere is equal to the Planck's length. This is the minimum and at the same time the maximum distance and time possible. The particle influenced by dramaturgy can move anywhere within the circle in any direction, following the natural flow of increasing entropy. These reasons on the quantum level are represented as the laws of quantum mechanics. The distance of approximately 1.6 multiplied by 10 in the power of minus 35 meters represents the maximum and minimum distance that any form of propagation, including dramaturgy, can cover during one Planck's time. Any particle in this world simply cannot go faster and run further from its original point during one quantum computational click of now moment. However, these changes can happen in 2 opposite directions, depending on the entity that controls them, or rather tries to predict their behavior. Simply speaking, if you stand up from your sofa, you can decide to go left or right, depending where you want to see yourself in future. This makes a diameter of one atom of space equal to 2 Planck's lengths. So atom of space is more about possible changes of the particle location than about space. At the same time, quantum particle cannot make a shorter movement during one step, because in this quantum setup we believe there can be a shorter than 1 Planck's sequence, if the world is really quantum in nature. So that is how we get an exact potential sphere of possible directions of particle movement that unfolds dramaturgy, story of our lives, step by step like a Turing machine. Basic computational level of existence looks like that. On our visualization, particle moved right and now stands at the beginning of step number 2. Only to repeat its movement during further steps at the same direction or change it depending on the desire of consciousness that controls it. Let's come back to 3-dimensional world. So what is the volume of a sphere of one atom of space? The volume of the 3D sphere with the radius of 1.6 multiplied by 10 in the power of minus 35 meters is approximately 2.2 multiplied by 10 in the power of minus 104 cubic meters, representing the maximum potential volume of smallest atom of space. The potential sphere of directions Equivalent to the atom of space is the Planck's swirl volume of a single bit of dramaturgy. It cannot be further divided or broken apart. It is intriguing that this minimum bit of reality is not continuously real. Determining the effect of dramaturgy requires a minimum of 2 Planck's times observed in a row by the observer, who is a part of the system. This is a fundamental aspect of dramaturgy. 1 Planck's time of something to happen and another one to detect it. This can be called partial spatial displacement of dramaturgy. Otherwise, there is no system to talk about. This spatial displacement of dramaturgy can be seen as a kind of quantum chain entanglement of separate elements working toward a common goal, confirmed at each Planck's turn. The specification of this entanglement are brought by dramaturgical reasons. Remember the hero way goal capsule. You can check my other videos about fact result and reaction events to see how simple no or yes or vacuum of space works in written down by atoms of space. To rephrase, the atoms of space represent the potential location of the particle within the possible three-dimensional sphere of locations that can be reached during 1 Planck's time. It is driven by the fate of the dramaturgical potential holder and influenced by the variation in desires and wills of higher dramaturgical entities beyond our three-dimensional world. At the same time, it refers within computational systems of our world in a dramaturgical framework. Therefore, the bit of 1 quantum dramaturgy is approximately 2.2 multiplied by 10 in the power of minus 104 cubic meters. However, it only exists and makes sense when 1 or more atoms of space exist in a system. Within each Planck step, there is a new combination and number of these atoms of space located in a unique way. The exact locations of all the atoms of space in upcoming computational steps cannot be predicted. The only way to determine them is to go through all Planck steps one by one and experience them. This constant game for making predictions for the future organization of atoms in terms of dramaturgical matter and outcomes for dramaturgy potential holder involves all conscious entities in this world. To illustrate the scale and quantity of atoms of space, we can consider the number of atoms within a given volume. For example, a volume of 0.136 cubic meters, which is approximately the average volume occupied by a human body, contains approximately 9.6 multiplied by 10 in the power of 104 atoms of space. This vast number of atoms of space undergo their computational movement during each Planck's time. To represent an average human as a computational model, let's compare flat two-dimensional projection of a human to a cellular automaton, a type of programmed Turing machine. To be more specific, Rule 30. Rule 30 is an elementary cellular automaton introduced by Stephen Wolfram in 1983. Rule 30 displays aperiodic, chaotic behavior. This rule is of a particular interest because it produces complex, seemingly random patterns from the simple, well-defined rules. For example, if current cell is white, 3 closest cells on top of upcoming row can be only black, black and white, and so on. Just a handful of simple rules that forms surprisingly complex patterns. Because of this, Wolfram believes that Rule 30 and cellular automata in general are the key to understanding how simple rules produce complex structures and behavior in nature. For instance, a pattern resembling Rule 30 appears on the shell of widespread cone snail. Rule 30 has also been used as a random number generator. If we were to conceptualize a person as a Rule 30 computational machine, the question arises: how would we describe their self-awareness and interaction with the external world? In the context of Rule 30, it may appear as if a particular segment of the code begins to replicate itself across subsequent steps. The complexity of this process requires 9.6 multiplied by 10 in the power of 104 computational slots of a person to function, making 9.6 multiplied by 10 in the power of 104 dramaturgical inquiries per 1 Planck's turn, just to maintain in this state. This complexity is akin to Alice's experience in Wonderland, when she needed to run as fast as she could just to stay in one place. These dramaturgical computational inquiries influence the evolving pattern as subsequent steps of the graph unfold. So, the Rule 30 computational person receives responses from the system after a certain number of time steps have transpired. Human uses this information to improve their fate and make predictions about the future to the best of their ability, as part of their subjective pursuit of freedom and happiness. For more deep personal journey of discoveries in a quantum dramaturgical realm, just Google quantum dramaturgy to download for free my latest book, Physics of Important Things, or follow the link in the descriptions. I can guarantee you will get a tons of new information you never heard before. Also follow my channel and subscribe to see more quantum dramaturgical videos about nature of our reality and your role as its creator and observer.